good news is we're out of the woods a little bit. We finished off that Scream Factory box set of Amityville, and we're moving on to the Vinegar Syndrome one, which, spoiler alert, may have better quality movies. So,
at least one of them anyway.
Y'all brought your whole box in for it. I just brought my movie over here, but at least I do have the box.
It's a good box.
It's a great box.
My favorite. That's my favorite box set, just the looks of it. And this is the first time I've watched it since I got this, because I bought that at Days of the Dead was it last year? I think it was last year. It might have been this year.
Look, it's even got the axe on it.
It does.
The thing is, it's so.
This axe is not in any one of these movies.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. It's such a good set because, like, you're saying that, and I just noticed as I was fiddling with it, I'm like, holy shit! When you lift off the top and they've got the blood like right inside, I just realized there's flies in it, and I was like, I've had this for like a few months, and I had never noticed that.
My only regret when I bought that is I didn't go ahead and buy the Angel box set. Well,
it's even got the demonic eyes in the window on the front.
Yep.
So, if you're new to us, this is Exorcast episode 24.
Yes.
Yes, 24. And
Remember,
we're covering
follow the numbering of the Amityville movies and you'll get it. It's 20 plus the number of the movie.
We're still in purgatory here, but this time we're doing a little better because Amityville.
I wouldn't say we're in purgatory.
The evil escapes.
I'd say we're maybe a little higher than purgatory on this one, but.
So what do you find, gentlemen? Go ahead and give them the synopsis or the story behind this. How do we get from Amityville 3D to this in canon reasons or whatever?
So I'm gonna leave that one to you to say on that one.
I'll take it. I refuse to do the last one, but I'll do this one. So the film opens up to the Amityville house, and there's just an onslaught of priests coming in, and they are just going room to room, one priest per room, doing an exorcism.
And it should be pointed out, and I've kind of made this point in the last episode, you can tell they really want you to forget Amityville 3 because you can still see the blood on the wall where it was like dripping down the wall from Amityville 2 and Amityville 1 technically.
Yeah.
But that never happened in 3, but you can see it on the wall in this one.
Well, see, Satan done built the house back up.
Always.
Yeah.
So
I don't
young
blame him for wanting to forget 3, by the way. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I'm gonna shut it. Sit here quiet.
So a young priest is in this room with this really gnarly looking lamp that son of a bitch. I had a photo of it somewhere.
So the top of it is on the cover of the DVD. Or on the Blu-ray, I should say. And yeah, there it is. It kind of looks like a tree with like fingers.
Yeah. To quote Vincent Renfield, because of his prop collecting, somewhere somebody has that. And
oh
I
God,
need
yes.
It. And I need it.
Did they pay $100 for it?
I'd pay $100 for that in a heartbeat. So anyway,
more than one of it, I imagine.
There's an electrical surge, and you see like a ball of something go through the cable into the lamp. You see the demonic face in the lamp. Bright light knocks the priest into the wall, and other priests help him out. He wakes up in the hospital or something, and the house is clean. So the owner of the house, the real estate, whatever, sells everything in an auction. And, well, this lamp gets sold to an old woman, and she's like, this is hideous. It's wonderful. It's perfect. $100? All right. I'm going to mail it to my sister because it's the ugliest thing I've ever seen in my life.
I'd like to believe on some level that this sale is why the Amityville Toaster episode of Ill Will Press exists, or Neurotically Yours.
But it's kind of clever, though. It's kind of clever if you think about it. Like, okay, let's just sell all the stuff in the house, but the evil follows all the stuff in the house. So that leaves endless possibilities right
it's
there. It's
genius. It's absolutely genius.
And I like the intro. I thought the intro of this is really, really good, too.
It does very well connecting it,
Yep.
yeah.
So it automatically is better than part 3 already.
She goes to sell it, and
so she sends it to her sister, and the same day the lamp shows up to the sister's house, the sister's daughter, played by Patty Duke, James.
Yeah, I know.
Her 2 daughters and son move in, essentially. They have rented out their house. Her husband has passed away. His pension has kind of run out. they're having a hard time making ends meet, and it does seem like that the grandmother and even her sister in New York are fairly wealthy. So she takes them in, and as soon as they get there, like I said, the lamp gets there, and then everything starts going wrong.
Everything.
Everything.
And
To
they
the
blame
point.
and she blame. Oh, go ahead. I'm gonna jump ahead of you. I'm jumping
Yeah,
ahead of you. I don't know why.
so the lamp, they say in the movie that the spirit is going to latch on to the weakest. And so it latches on to the youngest daughter because she's still going through a lot of losing her father. So she sees the lamp as her dad. And all these terrible things are happening in the house, and this little girl is getting more and more distant from her family and calling the lamp daddy.
Daddy.
And as James, as you said in the last show, this was a made-for-TV movie, and it's got way more blood, violence, everything
There
than
is
the
a scene in this movie.
non-made-for-TV movie.
There's a scene in this movie. I'm not going to spoil or say what it is, but I told my wife right after I saw it, I said, you can never watch this movie because you're already afraid of this happening now. And I'm not going to show it to you.
Well, what you're talking about, which I'm sure I know what it is,
Yeah.
was the one thing that I remembered about this when I watched it as a kid. So that's how I know I watched it as a kid.
I remembered
Because
a
I
lot
know,
of this when I was a kid.
and I don't mess with those devices myself.
Fun fact for the record, the guy who played, it's mentioned in the Sandor Stern 15-minute interview on this Blu-ray. The guy playing the person that happened to is Sandor Stern's son.
Oh, really?
He cast him. Yeah, he said he cast him just to torture him.
Well, one of the things I like about this, like the cool element of this movie, I mean, it does a lot of cool things, and it's kind of freaky in some areas, and it's just fun. But you know, the element that stands out is the grandma thinks that like the grandson and stuff is doing all this stuff to the house.
I mean, it's a common theme of the Amityville franchise is the parent and or grandparent believes the child is doing something that they're not doing. Basically,
so
or couldn't possibly do.
How's child going to turn all the water in the house to just black tar, pretty much, right?
Right. You know, how is the child going to? The one thing I will say about this movie is you can tell it's a TV movie because that bird, you can't just throw that in there as it is, looking like it does in that scene, and not get a laugh out of that. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just in there. As Monty Python would say, it's passed on. It's piece to be, basically.
Yeah.
I mean,
so plot wise though, as we were saying though, after word gets out that there's bad things going on in the house, this priest from the start decides maybe he needs to go and try to fix it.
So he wants to go back to the house, and the landlord's like, well, I sold everything off, and he's like, what about the lamp? And he's like, oh, I sold it to, what's her last name, Leacock?
Yeah.
And so he goes to find her, and she's in the hospital because she cut her finger on one of the leaves on the lamp, because it's like a tree, and it has metal leaves, and they're sharp.
And during the beginning of the movie, the whole time, again, this is getting into the issue we were talking about, not the issue, but the thing about it, it's a TV movie. The effects on her finger in the beginning of the movie are better than the effects of any kind in the third movie. I mean, they just are.
It was, and you know I found the main sister to be somewhat annoying at times for some reason.
Borderline.
The main blonde chick, is she anybody important? She looks like she
the oldest sister.
Yeah.
I don't believe so.
I guess she was just the eye candy of the time to be here. But
is that what we're calling her?
I guess. I mean, for 1989, yeah. You know.
Hey, she was in Demons 2. No, I'm sorry, Night of the Demons 2.
Wrong movie, close. But still, I mean, that's something.
Dr. Giggles.
Yeah. There you
go. Dr. Giggles. Well, she's got a little bit of horror cred to her. What do you know?
Night Terrors.
Hey, she's a full-fledged scream queen, boys. Y'all didn't know it.
Oops, clicked the wrong one. Jumped ahead of our time frame. The son. That's a hair choice.
Can we just say that the son is the ugliest fucking kid I've ever seen in my life?
He really is.
So Sandor Stern talks about, I think it's either Sandor or the other special feature on this is the cinematographer, and one of them talks about the fact that the fashion choices and the makeup in this movie are certainly choices.
Yeah. They're
and
like,
that
who
they
do we
were
want to
made.
cast?
Yeah.
Jimmy the
Well,
Ugly
the
Kid
oldest
was
daughter, I mean, was fine. I mean, she was
Yeah.
dolled up for the most part, but she's
She
a
had, no, she
junior
had
in
an
high school.
annoying
She's going to
voice.
be.
She had an annoying voice.
I'm sure some people say that about you.
Oh, I've never heard that in my life. What are you talking about?
Brian Evans?
I've got a distinct voice.
I think that's the name of the son, right? Brian Evans?
I guess.
Yes.
So apparently he's parlayed this into a lot of Star Trek work.
Yeah.
He was
Well,
also
you
in
need mullet Klingons.
he was also in Pterodactyl Woman from Beverly Hills.
I'm sure that's
He
fine.
was in Puppet Master 3: Toulon's Revenge.
I knew I'd seen him somewhere.
Also in House 3, the horror show.
Again, I knew I'd seen him somewhere. Oh, I don't know, man. It's like this. It's good. It's better than it had any real right to be. And am I going to be like threw out a window here if I say that this is probably the best Amityville movie so far?
I don't know if I'd put it above 2 or not.
It's got a better pace than 2.
It's at least on par with 2.
And in my opinion, it's more fun than 2. Like, it's fun.
Oh, it's definitely more fun than 2.
This is more my style, which, I'm glad Vinegar Syndrome got these movies. I hope we're in store for some of the same as this along the way.
Well, I mean, so
have you not watched any more of these, Chuck? This is the only one you've watched in this set?
This is the only one I've seen. After this point, I've not seen anything else.
So we talked half the time about the last 3 movies about how crap the transfer was on 1 and 3.
Yeah.
This is the difference between a Scream Factory thing and a Vinegar Syndrome thing.
They do their own restoration.
This is a 4K restoration from the original negative.
Yes, sir.
I think.
They take good care of their movies. They try to make sure that it looks good. And most of the time, you'll notice with Vinegar Syndrome, if they feel their movie doesn't look very up to par, they'll throw a bonus movie on it.
Yeah. Sometimes.
So, I like those guys.
Yeah.
I thought they did that with the pornos.
This wasn't a screener, boys. I bought this, for the record.
We know, Chuck, because you paid more than we did.
I paid $50. I think I paid $50.
Probably. It's so I think we actually kind of cut off in the middle of your plot synopsis right after he decides he wants to find where the lamp is and discovers the person has hospitalized.
Uh-huh.
Oh, I mean, the rest of that's going to be.
Yeah, he makes his way over, tries to find the family, tries to stop that,
and
I guess
every time he tries to reach them, something happens to it. Sends a telegram. Telegram gets just magically floats away. Tries to go into the house, gets sick.
I like the fact that the movie actually calls back to Amityville horror type things. Every time he calls them,
the money disappeared, the letter disappears, and the house is going out of its way to try to kill people now because literally everything in the house is going bad.
Oh yeah.
And everybody you call to fix it ends up having a bad fate most of the time.
Yeah, and we've talked about the first 3 movies trying to figure out where the hole in the house is. That's the portal to hell. So this time around, we don't actually have one, but the house acts like it has one because it has the lamp in it, and that's how the plumber meets his fate, in essence.
So I'm just going to. It's not the greatest picture, but I took it last night or the other night when I was watching this. And this is of my television, but the house up here still has the 2 same window eyes. They're just on the side of the house rather than right next to one another.
Oh my.
So the Blu-ray interview with Sandor Stern, which we haven't mentioned this, the inner reversible sleeve for this, because all of the ones that Vinegar Syndrome did have a sleeve like this on the outside, just depending on the movie. Like the next one in the set is It's About Time. It's red and has a clock instead of the lamp here. But the inner case has a reversible for the original like VHS style box art. Yeah. And this one, the tagline says, "From the creators of the original Amityville comes the most terrifying chapter." What they're referring to is this is directed by, and I believe also written by, I'm not sure on that, Sandy Stern, who was the original screenwriter of the first Amityville horror.
Correct.
It's also based on a Amityville novel named the same thing, Amityville Horror: The Evil Escapes. Amityville 1992 is also based on the same book, and it's about the same thing. The concept that stuff from the house got sold to people, and yeah.
That's how you continue a franchise when you just don't want to wash and repeat what you've already seen.
Sidebar: I do wish that Grady Hendrix had talked more in Paperbacks from Hell about the various Amityville books, because this one, which apparently two movies are based on this book, and the only mention it itself gets in the book is that its cover is in the book and no mention of the actual plot of the movie or plot of the book. But that's just me.
So we were talking when this came out. It was '89. James and I were 4 years old, but I had seen this on television, and I'd told these guys this right before we started recording, actually. And I know I wasn't 4 years old when I saw it, but my family, we would go camping every weekend. And we went camping the weekend that I had watched this, and I'd watched it with my mom. I very much remember the bird and the scene that James was talking about that his wife's terrified of.
I won't say
And
I'm not scared of it at all, but I keep saying it.
but I like remembered these things, and this for the life of me, up until about 10 years ago, I didn't know this was an Amityville movie. Of course, I didn't know what the
Really?
Amityville horror was when I was like 6 years old. But all I could remember was that fucking lamp, and I always wanted to see that movie again. Had no idea what it was until I had the great idea to Google it one day.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, we went camping, and the lady that was camping next to us was there alone because her husband had to go to work, and they were staying like the whole week where we would just go up on the weekend because my parents worked. She had one of those little tiny TVs that you would like crank, and so she would sit and watch TV with the giant bunny ear antennas on it, and it was on like the local station. And she had watched it that week too. So when I was playing, she was talking to my mom, called me over and was like, "Oh, she watched that movie with the same one that we watched with the lamp." And that's literally the only way I remember this movie throughout my entire life. That, and it's also the only horror movie that my mom had ever watched with me.
Hey,
She was never a
it's a
fan.
memory. It's a memory.
Got a little bit of Nightmare on Elm Street 4 with her,
Yeah.
and that got cut out real quick. Of course, I was young.
In the interview with Sandy Tierney, he also talks about, you mentioned the house and where like the eye, where the windows are. He talked about how hard it was for them to find a house that fit every bill they needed, as in look, being on a cliffside, style, all this stuff. So they had to like film in 3 different ways and piece together a whole bunch of houses and things like that. I mean, that's kind of one of the things that mystifies about this is this movie is a joke. And I don't mean in a bad way. I mean, like, this is a punchline. The joke that Family Guy makes about Stephen King, where he's in the writer's office and he says he's going to make a movie about a killer lamp. Everybody makes a movie or writes an article and talks about how weird this movie is. In fact, on the actual on the Wikipedia page for it, they go out of their way to mention that there is a article that AV Club did. It's under reception. On the AV Club website, Amityville 4 is one movie listed in the article, Night of the Killer Lamp, 23 ridiculous horror movie adversaries.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is, that's the perception probably of most of the movies in this box set, is you're fighting a killer lamp. And it's a testament to the writing and the way it's filmed and the way it's acted that, yeah, you do understand how goofy that is and how weird that is, but you also start to buy it by the end.
Well, it's 10 times better than Full Moon's Killer Bong, I'll tell you that much.
Sometimes better than most things that are like that. It's a lot better than Rubber, for example,
Oh, the tire?
the Killer Tire movie.
That had a scanner explosion in it.
It did, but this is still better than that.
It's better. I'll give you credit on that. It's better. No,
Yeah.
I'm giving it 3.5 points.
I am gonna give it a 3, and it's only because I could easily just like the thing is it's literally the same way as Amityville 2. And Chuck has passed away. There
We're
we go.
good. Whoa,
Got it.
hold on. What is happening here? You see how smooth I am? I got these Spider-Man like reflexes. I just caught that camera like it wasn't nothing when it fell.
I was gonna say when we did Amityville 2, I said I could easily give it a 3.5.
Mm-hmm.
I feel the same way about this. That's why I'm not sure what I like more. At the moment, I kind of lean toward this. I don't know that I lean far enough to give it 3.5, but it is absolutely still good.
I feel like this could be the pinnacle of this series for me.
I
mean,
don't know that.
Unless Vibrator is a dark horse, you know.
I don't know
I
yet.
bet it is.
Well,
a
I mean,
wet
if you
dark
read
horse.
the back of the box, all I'm gonna say is in a couple of movies, according to the cover copy on the 6th Amityville movie, it's apparently got body horror and stuff like that in it. So that could be interesting. I can buy that.
You giving it a 4?
Giving it a 4.
Good stuff.
I can buy that. Like I said, the only reason I believe Chuck thinks he has the Rona.
Precautionary. Sure. Carry on.
I mean, yeah, it's honestly,
I can't. I don't.
What? You can't
What's wrong with it?
Can't go with this? No, honestly, thinking back, I actually think I am gonna give it a 3.5 because it's probably one of the best TV movies I've ever seen.
97.7.
And to say that after having watched, gone into this movie going, okay, great, we're gonna start doing the killer lamp and the killer clock and the killer mirror and the killer dollhouse.
Don't give all the spoilers away.
They're in the title, man.
And the killer vibrator.
It's between call it a 3.25.
That's really technical.
Anyway.
What was it, 3.2? I don't like that stuff. Like that's too complicated for me.
I'm sorry.
Like we'll have, there's a lot of people out there that they understand 3.5, they understand 3, but you go 3.25. They don't know what that is.
It's between the 3 and the 3.5.
Okay.
There you
All
go.
right.
All
right. How many skulls would you give it, Blade Disgusting?
Totally giving it a 4. Part of it's nostalgia. Part of it is just the lamp is fucking cool. More happens in this movie pretty much than any other Amityville movie, bar Amityville 2: The Possession. But this is a hell of a lot more fun. It looks a hell of a lot better, and that just comes down to Vinegar Syndrome giving a shit.
Oh, of course.
Mm-hmm.
But Patty Duke fights an inanimate object. Come on.
Where are you going to see that at?
I think
exactly.
Fights is a strong. I would say that what's her name? Jane Wyatt fights the lamp more than she does in the end. But
Fair.
Yeah.
Patty Duke's still pretty badass in this, though.
I would agree with that.
So yes, wholeheartily giving it a 4. Stand by that one.
Hopefully my desk is not coming from Amityville because I think I just cut my hand on it, but that's okay.
Uh-oh. You have a weird looking finger here in a couple of days.
Tune in next week from the hospital.
hey, if you're in the hospital, you still got to lay there with your phone now and film
I know
That's
how
right.
this works. I get it.
The nurse can be a special guest whoever walks in there every so often. So I've been on a diet since the start of October, and I mostly cutting out. Like I don't know if we talked about this on air or not. Mostly cutting out the Cokes. I have like one real one a day, and the rest of the way, if I drink one, it's the zero kind, which tastes like you're drinking a flat one. But I've lost 10 pounds since the start of the month, somehow. But I don't feel right because I don't have all my caffeine intake that I used to have. So I don't like coffee. So I get to feeling bad, so I always just check my temperature just to be sure.
Have you tried like good coffee?
Well, I mean, what do you mean, like a frappe or something? Are you
No.
Look, as fancy as it gets at my house is Folgers, okay?
So you're used to drinking garbage?
I guess so. Yeah.
Pretty sure those are
You
just like little fucking rabbit pellets that they strain through water.
you telling me I need to buy some of that David Lynch stuff?
That is so fucking good.
Is he still doing the daily weather updates?
Pretty sure.
And see, the thing is, everybody kept watching this because they thought it was going to lead to something. They thought it was like something super, over our intelligent level that was going to lead to. The dude's just giving us the weather updates. That's legit. All he's
David
doing.
Lynch. Let's say, why do they think that's going to be any more than that? It's David Lynch.
Like there's no hidden message. It's just him sitting there. Looks like rain today.
Climate change.
Doug Bradley's reading the Raven on Facebook.
Who is?
Doug Bradley.
Oh.
So, about the same kind of thing, really.
I guess a lot of these guys don't have nothing else to do right now. You can't really, as far as I'm aware, filming movies is pretty hard right now. I was lucky to finish Screwdriver because it got finished right at the time of this stuff breaking down. That's probably one of the reasons Screwdriver's a little shorter than I'd like it to be, just because we couldn't really get nobody at the time to finish anything else on it. And I haven't got to finish my other movie yet because it's hard to get people together. Have either of you watched Screwdriver, by the way?
I have not yet.
My life's work, boys.
We will, eventually.
Yeah.
Before I forget, I will post a link to this movie and like an Amazon link. What? Well, it's the box set is not necessarily out of print, but they only made so many of them. And I'll put a link to Vinegar Syndrome's website. There's 100, as of recording this, there's 171 copies left. It is on sale right now for $60 when it's normally $80.
Oh, I only paid $50.
And whether they will remake it or not, we do not know.
Well, they have.
The thing about that is so
they're not
put these out by themselves.
They already have.
Yeah.
They just recently did that. So I will put a link to Vinegar Syndrome, and I'll put a link to this. If you buy anything from this show on Amazon, we get like a kickback. It's legitimately like 10 cents, 60 cents. And all that does is if you want to do that is essentially it pays for the software that we record this with. Actually, it doesn't even do that, but it helps.
Exorcast is a non-profit organization.
We are definitely not doing this for the money.
We are a non-profit organization.
Literally, it's cents on the product that's bought, and I think we talked about one box set. Somebody bought it. It was the Lewis box set, I believe, from Arrow, the big one.
Yeah.
Like not the super limited one, but the other one. And somebody bought that, and it's legitimately like $100 box set, and I think we made like $3 off of it.
That's about right.
So that's what we're working with. But if you want to contribute and buy something, all the movies since the start of this, I've been linking down there. And if you want to click on one of them, buy something, it helps the show go.
Also helps with any YouTube videos we post down there. We mention anything like that. I'm sure that when we do the tags for this, I'll have sent you the link to the YouTube video of Amityville Toaster just to put it in there.
I will. I've never seen that.
It's great. So the gist of it, the gist of the joke, not to blow the whole thing, is that the little squirrel with the goth owner has gotten hold of a toaster from the haunted house in Amityville.
Mm-hmm.
And just the running joke is that you put shit in the toaster and other stuff comes out instead. And yeah. We did sell Matt. We would talk about this. This was not supposed to be the only made-for-TV movie in the franchise. They were also supposed to make another movie after this, and it would have been based on the other John G. Jones Amityville horror book that came afterwards, Amityville: The Horror Returns, and it would have been about the Lutzes, because apparently the Amityville was the presence was going to stalk them according to the plot.
Yeah.
Somehow they've already left the house, but they're going to be stalked by it in this other book.
Poltergeist too.
They canceled it for unknown reasons, but the back of the book when he wrote it said soon to be an NBC movie. So that was going to be a thing, never was a thing. All that's happened instead was Evil Escapes was based on Evil Escapes. And also when we reach, in a couple of movies next time, when we reach It's About Time, that is also based on the same book, Evil Escapes.
When when we were talking about the one movie it's not in these box sets, where does it fit in all these?
What's the next movie that we're reviewing, Chuck?
Yes,
So I'm glad you asked that
Okay.
question.
yeah. Give me a second. Yeah, that would be the Amityville Curse. I believe.
Correct. And it's free if you have an Amazon Prime account.
It
And
is
it's
also
also
free
on
if you have
YouTube.
Oh, well, I'll be watching it on YouTube.
I know you will.
I'll be
And
watching
it's
on
got
Prime.
and it's got Kim Coates in it.
I like Kim Coates.
I know you did. That's why I mentioned it. It's based loosely on another Amityville novel. It's called the same name, basically, and that's by, again, the parapsychologist from the first movie's documentary, commentary, Hans Holzer.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's where it fits in. It's another movie based on one of Hans Holzer's books. I will say, according to Wikipedia, we'll get into it next week, but apparently it is a completely different haunted house and a different background than the entire rest of the series.
Yeah, it is a haunted house in Amity, but it's not the
Wow.
Amityville house.
Something different, huh?
If any indication, I will say it may be the Amityville 3 of the week next week because I've heard very little good things about it, but who knows? We'll see how it goes.
I feel like we're not going to get back as bad as we did for Amityville.
It would take effort. Like, that's one of the things that's why, I gave it the 1.5 I did, is because they had to try to make that movie that dull and lifeless, basically. Like, I still think we didn't talk enough about how horrible the elevator effect in that was.
Well, I mean, it was so hard to find something good to talk about that.
I know.
I mean, that's just, that's how that was. So what's the next one? What's our killer object in the next one? Do we have a killer object?
There isn't one.
Oh, okay. But then we go back to killer objects later on. Then.
Okay. Right. Amityville Curse does not have a killer object. It's a bunch of people in a haunted house. Amityville after that is Amityville 1992. It's About Time, which is probably my favorite subtitle ever, because if you ever want to talk about that movie, you can be like, "Oh, I just watched that movie. What was it? It's About Time." That's right. Yeah.
Is there time travel in that?
Not sorta.
Well, we ain't gonna get like on the
sorta
Hellraiser
level. Deep into it here yet, but yeah.
Yeah, well, maybe we'll save it for the show, and Uncle ask us so many questions about it.
So yeah.
I know I've seen them on the video store when I was a kid. I just did not rent them.
And we didn't really talk about it, but basically, because it's mentioned in the documentary on here, what happened to the franchise is a producer, Steve White, got the rights, and then decided, like I said, the first two of the ones in this box set are based on Evil Escapes, and Evil Escapes is about they sell a bunch of shit from the house in Amityville, it goes to other places and messes with people's lives.
Mm-hmm.
So since he'd already started doing that, he just kept it right on rolling as he went through the other two movies he did besides those two. And that's how you got other haunted things from Amityville.
Yeah.
There is a funny story though on the documentary. He talks about trying to get the rights to use the house, and they walked up to the house, and this old lady comes to the door, and they go, "Can we shoot a movie in your house?" She goes, "No." And so he had his wife with him, and he sends the wife in to talk with her, and the wife finds out that they had filmed another movie there before, and she had these roses in the front, like rose hedges. And she had said, "You could do fine. You could do this movie just fine, but I love my roses. Don't mess with my roses." And they wrecked those roses in that other movie. And so she said, so it ended up being, she said, "You can use the house, but if I ever see XYZ producer from that movie again, I'm gonna kill him." and so Sandy Stern goes, "Oh, who's the producer?" And she goes, it's not the one here, but it's not Steve White, but it's the other guy listed in the credits on this movie. He was doing like background production for it. It's him. So he had to go to him and go, "Yeah, you can never come to the set. Just never, ever come to the set."
Was it another Amityville movie or something? Was it another Amityville movie that they did that on or something?
No, it was something else. But basically, they said his wife was very careful because she was working with him on the shoot. They made absolutely sure the roses were fine. They never touched them ever. But yeah, he had to tell the guy behind the scenes to be like, "Yeah, no, you can never come here. She will literally kill
you up." That's great.
Well, you don't mess nobody's roses.
Yep. Sandy also said that he didn't think he shot anything gory. So he's thinking that scene they might have put in the extra blood later. I don't know about that or not, but yeah. He did
Maybe
say
he just
though
doesn't
that
remember.
That
he
was
said
probably one of the most memorable scenes of the movie, next to just a look at the lamp, you know.
I like the plumber too. The plumber was good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Vinegar Syndrome. One thing I will say about this is Vinegar Syndrome special features. Even if they're small, they're always interesting on some level because they go deep. So this is a special feature on Amityville Horror: The Evil Escapes. And one thing you learn from this is that when they made the remake, Sandy Stern did not make a single cent off the remake itself.
Mm-hmm.
Because apparently the rule that would have said he would have gotten residuals for writing the first movie did not go into effect until the year after he wrote it. So he did get residuals because everybody went and saw the original after watching the remake. He got residuals from that.
Yeah.
But the movie itself, he got no money from whatsoever.
Wow. Because he would have made a lot more money that way.
Oh, yeah. He was happy about the residuals he made from that, but yeah, he didn't make a dime from the actual movie itself.
Yeah.
Fun facts you learn from Blu-ray special features.
Yes, it is. Well, it's definitely one of the more fun Amityville entries we've got to cover so far, which, following part 3, my God. We needed this.
Nothing could have been worse.
And they needed the 6 damn years between the two, actually, is what they needed.
Yeah.
But apparently, do they have a year on that? Let me check something real quick.
Do you think this would have done well in the theater?
I think it would have done better than the other one.
Oh, absolutely would have done better than the other one. Actually, no, let me take that back. I can't say if it would because I feel like unless they marketed it well, it would have had the stink of Amityville 3 on it at that point, and it might have hurt it a bit. But if you market it right, give it the right kind of trailer,
well, sometimes you get by on name alone sometimes.
Sometimes.
You know? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, look at all the shitty movies that get sequels.
Oh yeah.
Like they get greenlit week 2 in the theater because there's so many people going to it, regardless if it's good or bad.
We're still making Saw movies, boys.
Oh yeah. Hey! Let's not bash Saw franchise.
I like first 3. After that, it's a little bit hit and miss.
I can roll with them as it goes on. I like a lot of them, but one of them's pretty rough. I will say for the record, for what he does talk about Amityville, he also brings up what we talked about last week, which was that George Lutz was an abusive asshole. In fact, that's quite a large chunk of what he talks about with Amityville is the fact that the Lutzes probably were liars. But he doesn't say in here when Amityville: The Evil Escapes was written. It says Amityville: The Final Chapter was written in 1985. So they were still making books like in 85, like 4 years before this. In fact, I actually kind of like this. It says here, Amityville: The Final Chapter, 1985, follows the Lutzes as they ditch their kids and fly around the world on a studio-paid publicity tour, giving interviews to promote the movie. Keeping the franchise going, the entity, the source of all evil from the first book, goes mobile, following the family everywhere. Fortunately, George Lutz is manly enough to punch and kick it into submission. Quote, I knew this martial arts training would come in handy someday, unquote, he muses. The final chapter climaxes in a battle in which George puts the abomination in a chokehold while his wife and kids form a human chain and channel love power into him. When the entity finally taps out, when the entity finally taps out, the entire family, including Harry the dog, kick and stomp its corpse into dust.
Wait. He taps? He taps out?
He did the job, yes.
This could be the first recorded tapping in history of tapping out.
So what I'm telling you, since we were talking about this before the show, is my response is, Chuck, it's not as good as it could be, but when he does discuss how crazy some of these get, it's fantastic.
W, you just switched side of screens on me for some reason. I don't understand why.
I left.
Oh.
I left because of that.
Yeah, no, as I say, that's the thing I mentioned is one of the good things about this is he's got a deal with Valancourt now, where Valancourt's been putting out some of the books he talks about in here again, and some of them are just crazy. Like, that's part of what makes this so interesting is they just wrote whatever the hell they wanted sometimes, and some of the movies that are mentioned here, they would never, ever make them. Like,
I've
you
been
know,
trying
some of the
to-
books in here, they'd never make them. I mean,
I've
into
been
movies.
trying to pick up like random old horror paperbacks. You know, I'm a fan of books in general. I collect a lot of books.
Mhm.
So I like stuff like that.
Yeah, definitely look into Valancourt's line because that's a lot of it's a bunch of re-releases, some of them with introductions of the original ones, and usually they have the original really cool cover art too on some level.
Yeah,
So yeah, they're a little expensive because again, current time,
of course.
but yeah,
So I can't go to McKay's and get them for $1 like I do the old Goosebumps books, right?
I've managed to find them in Barnes and Nobles for like $10,
Oh, that ain't bad.
and that's maybe, but you know, you can also apparently buy them from the Valancourt website in a set that's like you pay them like $50 and they'll send them to you as they come out, basically, of each like set they've done.
Yeah.
So
But yeah,
it's
like I
internet.
watched. Yeah, he did a thing I watched online where he did like a presentation about them, but he also like brought the artists on stage and did an interview with them about how they drew the different cover arts and stuff, and he has spotlights on a few of them in here as well. It's a really well done book. It's just I really wish he'd gone deeper into certain things, but apparently you can only go so far in about 250 pages.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There we have it.
Yep.
I think. I think as we look at the clock on the wall, thus winds down another exciting episode of Extracast. Next week, what we got, boys?
Next week is the Amityville Curse.
And then the week after that, it's what?
Well, a few days after that.
1992. It's about time.
Yeah, so the clock on the wall at this point is not possessed, but a few episodes it will be.
Will this put it? Are we at the halfway point now, or will we be at the halfway point?
We are legitimately at the halfway point right now.
Well, that's just until we throw the other ones in.
Yep.
The bonus Amityville episodes with all these indie pieces of shit that's out there that we're going to do. Like
Spoilers.
Amityville Asylum.
Now, how are you going to be how are you going to be an indie director and then call all these movies indie pieces of shit?
That's why nobody likes
Solidarity, man. Come on.
You know.
Like indie film on indie film crime.
Yeah, right. I'm already committing a crime because I do reviews and make movies, so I'm hated both sides for the other. You know what I mean? You cannot do reviews on indie films and make indie films, and I do that because everybody automatically hates you. So they're like, well, he give my movie a 2. How dare him give my movie a 2? Now he's making a movie. Let's watch it, and they're automatically going into it with a grudge. So
I mean, to be fair, they're going to give it a 2 even if they didn't have a grudge.
I'll have you know, boys, that my movie. I always hate bringing up my stuff on these shows, by the way, because I feel like I'm self-promoting all the time.
It's not as bad as when you were trying to self-promote Morbid.
That's right. But Door 2, or Door 1, excuse me, Door 2 ain't done yet. Door 1
Spoilers.
of the 5 Doors to Hell seems to get quite a bit of praise.
That's surprising.
Yeah. And Morbid's kind of getting a cult following, so.
So you're saying Severin didn't ask you if you wanted to be interviewed for the anthology documentary they did, huh?
No, they didn't. They didn't ask me that. Now, if they did, later on down the line, about 10 years, when they start talking about all these independent films that come out during this time period, I fully expect to be asked to do that.
Honestly, and I mean this in the best possible way, I kind of expect that if the cult following you have keeps as it is, I would not be shocked if Intervision, if it's still around, tries to do something eventually.
Maybe.
Just throwing that out there.
I mean, I've already got one company, I don't want to say the name, wanting all my stuff right now. Everything I've already done.
I know the name.
Yeah. And it's not for these limited releases. It's for full-fledged releases. So.
I told you not to do it.
I did that name, didn't I?
Yeah.
I heard the terms of the deal.
Boys, my whole thing is I'd rather people see it. You know what I mean? Like, I don't care.
I'm just going to throw this out there. Not that I'm saying this is definitely that company, because I'm not saying that. But the mentality you just described, boy, I bet that's how Estron 6 felt.
Huh. I don't deal with trauma, okay? I've never dealt with trauma.
If it was trauma, a lot more people would see it.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
Just because it's fucking trauma for some reason.
Yeah, but look here. What happens when Lloyd
compare yourself to Trey Parker and Matt Stone and James Gunn and
Lloyd Kaufman dies tomorrow? What happens? What happens to
His
Chrome?
wife runs it.
His
Yeah,
wife
but
runs it, and/or they weekend at Bernie's his corpse for about 2 months in
Yep.
YouTube videos.
That's
I mean,
probably in his
they
will.
need
He
that.
probably wants that to
Now,
happen.
not saying the company's name, but this company, that we're talking about, I kind of fit in better with that class of people that's been on this roster. There's the Tim Ritters and the Polonia brothers and the guy that did Gore Horror, which I can't think of his name right now.
Oh, gee.
Those
Just
are my people, man. And
saying
a
all
lot of
those
them were
names and
down.
movies and directors and
It's
what
shot
fucking
on video stuff, boys.
what
It's shot
what
on video.
what company are you talking about? Oh my gosh.
Yeah. They may or may not have already released one of my movies before, but I've never had a problem. I've never had a problem with them.
I'm not
Like,
saying a name.
Give it 3 days and see if he asks you to cut this out.
They did me way better than the other one did.
Well,
At least they talk to me now, right?
I haven't talked to him in fucking years.
Well, I've tried even recently, and I get nothing. I got a list of people that just when you quit talking to Chuck Connor, you just quit talking to Chuck Connor. You don't talk to me for nothing. You don't send me a text. You don't send me an email. That's it. And there's a growing list of people on that list, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll cut there before we get too deep into that list. But is that episode up yet, where we start talking about old flames or whatnot? Has that been posted yet? Old acquaintances from up north that don't have nothing to do with me anymore.
Oh, that's been up.
Oh, okay.
Like 3 weeks.
Oh, did you leave that part in?
Yeah, he did.
I'm pretty positive I did.
Yeah, you should pass that link along.
Why are you hoping that they'll call you again?
Yeah, it'd be nice, wouldn't it?
Her husband will call you.
I just think that you don't throw friendship away or something.
Are you trying to say that kid's yours?
No, I'm not saying that. No. Okay. See, now you're going to be on the list, buddy. You're going to be on the list now. There's going to be.
I said nothing.
No,
I said nothing. I know nothing. I am not part of this conversation.
I would have been on the first plane to Illinois if that had been my kid, or the first Greyhound bus, because I don't fly yet. Are we still? This show's done, right? Is this over? This.
Well, we haven't really signed off yet.
Okay, all right.
Still rolling, buddy.
For entertainment value, y'all just sit here and watch the skeleton spit around for the remainder of the episode. There he goes.
And with that specifically, stay tuned next week for Amityville, the Amityville Curse, the one that both Shout Factory and Vinegar Syndrome forgot.
Or didn't want, right?
Or didn't want. We don't know yet. We'll find out.
Or couldn't get.
Entirely possible as well.
All right.
But we'll talk about that next week. Enjoy. Thanks for watching. Tell Chuck to shut up.
Hashtag it.
Hashtag it.
Oh, wow. Hey, if he wants you to.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching. Like, share, subscribe, all that fun stuff. And we'll see you next week. For Amityville Vibrator.
Yeah.
This is my Amityville Curse, isn't it?
That's for Exorcast After Dark, right?